Hi, I'm Lisa,
And I'm Keith.
and we're friends drinking beer. I think this is second episode, episode 2. Episode 1 hasn't been published yet, but it will hopefully soon.
The sequel.
Many times over. Today, unbeknownst to either of us, we both picked canned beers. So, Claim 52. Beautiful artwork.
Always is.
This is a dessert sour. So that's the beer I'm going to be opening. What are you opening?
This is from one of my favorite breweries here in Oregon. It's called Monkless Brewing. It's out of Central Oregon in Bend. And it is, and their specialty is Belgian beers, but they do all kinds of beers. But this one is Imperial Peppercorn Wit. So it's a Belgian style wheat beer brewed with spices at 8.2 ABV. And it's delicious. And if somebody says, like, of all the beers, what is your favorite? This is at the top of the list.
Okay. I've never had that beer, so I'll be looking forward to drinking it. Claim 52 is another Eugene beer, so our location is telling, since we're drinking local beers. These are so good. Claim 52's, claim to fame, is their smoothie beers, which I adore. The problem is you drink them way too fast, and you really I have to slow myself down. So this one's 6.5%, heavily fruited. Re-fermentation can occur if not kept cold. So,
and it has on it advises you to have them cold. And if you've never had a smoothie beer, you really need to branch out and try it, because it's one of those things that when most of her is like, oh, this will be just a fad. It's like having something that looks like a smoothie, tastes like a smoothie, but it's boozy. It's a beer and stuff like that. But when I had it, I'm like, okay, that's good. The flavors are good. Just like I said, I had another one that's good. I'm like, all right, now I've had 3 different smoothie beers, and I'm like, all right, Claim 52, apparently this is your niche, and it's going to work. I mean, the brewery has regular beers and stuff like that, but the smoothie beers, it was an aha moment for me, because I thought, like, everybody knows for, like, brunch, and, you know, they got, like, Bloody Marys or mimosas and stuff like that. I'm like, how come nobody's invented, like, a breakfast beer? There it goes. Smoothie beers are excellent for breakfast beers, because it's fruit in it, so it's healthy.
Mm-hmm. Of course it is. All right, so which one should we drink first? This is actually, Keith just said breakfast. This actually is dessert. So maybe we drink this one second, because it's for dessert.
To end with the sweet?
End with the sweet.
Yeah.
Okay. I have before us a selection of glasses, because I did not know which glass you would like to pour this Belgian beer into.
I figured actually, let's do that. That's more Belgian-y.
Okay. This is a tulip glass for anybody who is paying attention to what they name glasses. I don't know what this shape is called, but it's a lovely shape, and we drink out of it all the time. Oh, thank you so much. All right, first, it smells very Belgian-y. That crisp, clean smell. The thing that's making me slightly nervous is the word peppercorn.
Yes, which I was dubious too, because I'm like, well, wait a minute, do I really want something that, like, tastes like a meal, but it's good because it's subtle?
Okay. Cheers. It's kind of hazy, so you can't see through it. Very warm.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it doesn't taste like table pepper.
That's what you're worried about? This is peppercorn. It's going to taste like a condiment.
Right? Yes. Don't get me wrong. I like black pepper.
Yeah, I think you smell it more than you taste it.
I don't know if I can ever tell you what pepper smells like. Black pepper, I should say. Because that's what I'm assuming peppercorn means, is the black peppers. Yeah. So that
you put in the pepper meal.
Yeah. Well, so. And it's funny, it says brewed with spices. What other spices? Does it list anything other than the peppercorn?
Let's take a look. The addition of our...
Excuse me.
Must be the pepper.
It must, yeah, I know. I just didn't too much of it.
All right. Our 4 peppercorn blend, fresh orange peel, and coriander. So that's the spice.
Okay.
The result is a big yet light-bodied wit beer, brimming with robust, bright citrus and pear aromas, with a clean and dry peppery finish.
I'll give them the clean and dry. Yeah, it's And it's a beer.
Right.
It's not, you're not going to chug this one back quickly.
Right. For those of you who run into people who are like, oh, I don't do Hefeweizen or wheat beers because they're too heavy and fill you up too quick, steer them towards wits, because a wit is they're still technically wheat beers, but it's a little bit more subtle. It's not so heavy.
I don't know. You say this is less heavy than a Hefeweizen?
Yeah.
No, because the Hefs to me are.
I mean, I like Hefs, but I mean, it feels like a meal.
I think their alcohol percentage is generally less, so maybe that's
it's less than this. Yeah. Well, see, that's why they have the Imperial. Mm-hmm. Imperial means they beefed up the
because it definitely is. To me, it's heavier in that it's more flavorful. It's got a thicker feel than your straight up Hefs. I would give them the exact opposite. If the Hefeweizen doesn't have enough for them, steer them to this.
Enough of what?
Flavor, heft, oomph. You look at me funny. Like, okay, we're disagreeing. Once again, if you watch the first episode, and we said we were going to disagree a lot.
I'm not.
Who's the snob?
Did my look say I disagreed with you? I'm just looking at you, just kind of like weird.
I am. Well, it is weird. To me, a Hefeweizen is a afternoon deck beer. You can drink a couple of them. Mm-hmm. This one's not.
Right.
I wouldn't knock a few of these back on a hot day because I would pass out.
You would because it's 8.2. But I mean, it's
so it does have heft.
Like a hef, I would drink by itself like this. I could have like pizza or sausage. You can tell they have kind of a Bavarian feel there at Monkless. But
it definitely holds up to food. And I would say if somebody wants to drink a beer, maybe this is where I'm going with the whole wit thing. If they want to drink a beer, but they want something that's a step up from your 12-pack.
Yeah.
A hef might not be enough of it. This would be. That's where I think I'm going with this. Whole disagreeing with you. Steer them to this, not the hef. That's what you said, not me.
It's just a good beer. I just like it. It's one
of my favorites. It is very good. And we probably should eat when we're drinking. But then you guys would have to hear us crunching food, and that would be terrible because
might see food in the teeth.
And it's one of the worst things. And talking with our mouths full, that would be terrible. But this definitely, I would want to snack on a good charcuterie board with some nice tasty
meats and cheeses.
It would go good with dates. It said pear, but I think I would rather eat an apricot with it.
Oh, that would work.
Right? Just a contrasting fruit. So
bacon covered fig.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's almost it is heavy enough it can withstand some stinky cheese too. Some good blue cheese.
Oh yeah, blue cheese.
Yeah. Some really
Have you ever had Humboldt Fog?
Oh my gosh, yes. Humboldt Fog is famous on the West Coast. It's a cheese from California. And isn't that Cowgirl Creamery? I think.
I don't know. But
we are going to have to put a disclaimer on all of our videos that we do not fact check. We do not. So anything that's coming out of our mouth, please do not take it as fact. Other than the beer that we show you. Yes, this beer actually exists. That's the fact. There's the can.
But Humboldt Fog you can get in Oregon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is an amazing.
I'm pretty sure it's not from Sweden.
No, it's California. I'm almost positive, and I think California Creamery. But then we also have Rogue Creamery,
which is very good.
In the Rogue Valley, and they are a good cheese making company. Good cheese making company. Lots of good cheese around here.
And then, was it Face Rock?
I've never heard of Face Rock, and we have a thing flying around, which is why all of a sudden I'm looking weird. We have a little bug. Okay, bug.
So it doesn't sting.
I'm just looking like follow the bug. No, okay, back to.
Isn't that who does Vampire Slayer?
Oh my gosh, I have no idea. I'm terrible.
I think it's Face Rock. Well, Think about the Oregon coast. You always want to go to the Oregon coast, but like all along it, besides breweries, they have cideries, and Bandon's a little south of where we're at, and then Tillamook is up north, but still on the coast. But Face Rock, and then what was the one you said?
Rogue Valley Creamery.
Rogue Valley, yeah. So both of those are along the coast. But we can get it in grocery stores.
Yes.
Yeah, like Vampire Slayer is such a good cheese. But I think I recall the label says Face Rock, which once again Oregon, but it's really good cheese.
Yes, cheese, wine, beer, trees. We're very particular about our trees up here.
I need to order Humboldt Fog. It's so good. Why don't I have it? I just like. I think the first time I had it was like at a Brewfest. I'm like, oh, this seems good. Like I'm like, oh my god, that's the best cheese ever. And it was not the alcohol speaking. It really is. It's good.
Yes,
it's almost like, doesn't feel like it's almost kind of a brie. Like it's kind of softer cheese.
Yeah, yeah, but it has a heftier flavor to it, which is right. So, how was your Christmas?
It was all right.
Yeah, you were wearing an ugly Christmas sweater.
Wasn't that ugly, though?
It was ugly. I was wearing mine, too. So my daddy was born and raised in Cudahy, Wisconsin. And he was a lifelong Green Bay Packer fan. And I have also been a lifelong Green Bay Packer fan because of Daddy. And the only ugly Christmas sweater I own is a Green Bay Packers. And, of course, it's my dad, so it's way too big on me. And
well, it's but it was
so fun. Yeah, and I only wear it twice a year. So, anyway.
So the only people would call it ugly might be Bears fans.
Yeah, true. Maybe some 49er fans as well. But that's okay. True. That's okay. I married a 49er fan, and we seem to have managed to figure out how to get along. He had to have a rough
weekend, huh?
Yeah. It was not pretty. So
they're still going to do well in the playoffs.
Oh, they'll be fine
if they remain healthy.
Yeah, they'll be fine. So, and it still is December, and the Christmas tree is still poking up above Keith's head. And it's survived the dog. So she has a tail that just, and it knocks things, it breaks things. That's how strong that tail is. So our Christmas tree has survived.
If you saw our first video, she features prominently in there. And just to let you know, we did not plan that. But once I looked at the video, I go, that is so perfect. We're sitting there talking, and she just kind of walks through right here, turns her head, looks. I go, she's perfectly right in the middle of us.
She is. So, and for those of you who want to know, her name is Mouse. She's named after a dog in a series of science fiction books about a wizard who lives in Chicago. And I am blanking on the name of the wizard, but it'll come to me at some point. I'll just spew his name out in the next few minutes.
You'll probably spew out the author first.
Yeah.
You should see your library.
I know. Library. Anyway, and Mouse is, she does have 2 forms of Mastiff in her, so she's pretty big. But she also has Terrier, which, people call Pitbull, and Lab. So that's where that yellow coat mix is. Yeah, so she's laying down right behind us. I don't know if you can see it, but anyway, that's why we keep staring over as we're talking about her.
Her color almost looks like Brundle. But I mean,
because she has that black hair. I know she has black hair coming. Yeah, she's pretty cool. Anyway, yes. So unbeknownst to us, she featured prominently in our first video, and she may feature again. Yeah. And anytime you see Mouse, you should drink.
That's right.
Whatever you're drinking.
Game.
Yeah, I know. Seriously, we should create our own bingo game. Okay, so this beer is, it tastes good warm because it's warmed up. And it's, some beers don't taste good warm.
Right.
But this does. And I'm starting to smell a little more of the pepper.
But you know how some people do with like the seasonal, like it's winter, it's cold. They do it's stout season, everything's dark.
My glass is empty, honey.
This is, you could drink it any time of year.
Yeah.
I mean, I've drank this in the heat of the summer. It's still good.
Yes, I agree. This is definitely a seasonless beer. and
all year round.
All year round.
Much like pepper, you can use it all year round.
And in most foods, any style of food, usually pepper will make it taste better. Can we have a discussion about salt?
Yeah, well, yeah.
Okay.
Let's talk about salt.
Let's talk.
Do you have a favorite salt?
Maldon.
Maldon
is one of my
salt?
Maldon salt flakes. It is the best salt for baking. So if you need a cookie that needs a salty top, also caramel, salted caramel, Maldon salt is, oh my gosh, it is so good.
So is Maldon the kind, like is it a sea salt? Or is it Maldon as a brand? Or
Maldon is a brand.
Okay.
And where the salt flakes are coming from, I would have to go look at the box. But yes, Maldon is my best favorite baking salt. Kosher, straight up for, things, stews and stuff like that. But now Johnson flavored salts. So a girlfriend bought me rosemary flavored salt and smoked salt, which I thought was going to be nasty.
No.
But it really adds some good depth to...
Who knew that was a thing?
Right. I had no idea. Because we talked about smoked beers in our first... Right. And I didn't... I'm glad that phase went
good.
away.
I know you can smoke about anything. But once again, I was at a brew fest. And like when you're trying to pace yourself, not just like drink and more, drink, things like that. You have the other booths, like the vendors and stuff like that. And then you get hungry. But I'm walking to this one vendor, and I'm like, why do they have little cups of popcorn? And I look like, and then I saw the little thumb grinders. And I'm like, they have all these salts. And so I'm looking at the different flavors, and then I see like alderwood smoked salt. And I'm sitting there, trying not to get in the way of people who are lying. I'm just like trying to read things without being too creepy. And the lady behind the booth goes like, you want to try some? I'm like, okay. So she grabs me some popcorn, and she goes, you can do it. And she can the little thumb grinder. I'm like, like a little child. You can do it. Come on, you can do it. Just squeeze it with your thumb. So I'm like, okay. I go, well, how strong is this? And then she goes, give it about 3. So I'm like, ksh, ksh, ksh. I see the salt coming out, so I know it's real. And so I take the popcorn and I eat it. And I'm like, and most of you already figured out, I made the capital offense because I'm all about get the food in your mouth as fast as possible. But Lisa and other normal people probably would have said oh no, you got to smell everything first. But I ate it. I ate it, and I'm just like, it's smoky salt, like the label. But my threshold of entertainment and joy is so low. It's so easy to excite me. So I was just like, oh my God, it tastes smoky. Something out of a little thumb grind. Something like that. So then I take the whole salt crystals and undo it, and I smell it. I'm like, it is smoked. Totally smoked. Like, not that I was doubting, but I'm like, it tastes like something that was very smoky, alderwood. And I was just like, I don't come to Brewfest to shop. Well, I'm like, I'm buying that because that's got to happen. I'm not even a salty person, really. I try to stay away from
your brother
salt.
Probably is the more salty person.
Well, I'm not talking about personality, but he is saltier in the family.
Both. He probably knows his salts better than you do, and he is a saltier
right. But I have to be miserly with it because I think that following year they didn't have the Brewfest. And so I'm just like, got to be very careful. And I bought a thumb grinder. Most people have pepper mills, but I bought a little thumb grinder. So I'm just
never heard of that.
Oh yeah,
never heard of a thumb grinder.
If you want to tighter your salt, it's good. Geez. It's like a little thing.
Oh jeez.
But so now Maldon, I got to remember that. So Maldon
salt.
Maldon.
Maldon. It's wonderful. And then Johnson for these flavored salts. And I have 3 different sea salts sitting on my counter from different places and different. Oh my gosh!
Smoked.
Well, the Johnson smoked one is, but no, the straight up sea salts are not. Yeah, is your beer glass okay? Are you looking at it funny?
No, I was just reading your zones. The drought zone and the flood zone.
Oh my gosh, I never even noticed that. So my barware is from a lovely, which we have not tasted their beers on here yet, but we're only 2 episodes in. Falling Sky is another local brewery, and obviously Falling Sky. Every time it rains, you get a discount at the bar. And so their pour lines say drought and Flood.
Yeah, Fallen Sky, another good local brewery here.
Yes, they're
big fans of theirs.
Yes,
we've been to their beer dinners, beer pairing dinners. Oh my god, so good. Mm-hmm. Another fun fact.
Oh dear.
And now you're gonna check people out when they do it. When people drink beer or otherwise, men look into the glass, but women, when they drink, look out. Yeah. So now you're going to be spotting people who'll be like, oh, that's true. It's true. Learned it here from your Uncle Keith.
But I constantly keep smelling it as I drink.
Do you like the smell?
The smell is good. Yeah, it's nice and clean. Did we have a whole conversation about taste in the first?
We didn't, but we can now because smell is connected to taste.
Smell, of course. Yeah. I have no sense of taste, so pretty much sense of smell is all I get.
That's why you're smelling it extra?
Extra. I always smell things. I continually smell to remind myself when I'm tasting.
I'm not going to
I think it's genetic because my brother says he has no taste buds either.
I'm not going to judge you for sniffing it longer.
Never. Never. That's the fun part of it.
Oh, it's so good.
All right.
So, did we finish, though, about salt? I felt like we were going to go deeper into salt.
The biggest issue for me is for a very long time people avoided salt because it was unhealthy for you. And while that may be true, sodium is a big issue, especially in processed foods. But that being said, salting your food does make it taste better.
Well, it depends which food.
Yes.
See, because I will salt seafood, like salmon, which I don't want to mess with salmon because I want the salmon to speak. But I'll put a little bit of yet another grinder. But I fall in love recently with pink salt, pink Himalayan salt, which I always thought that was more for brining or something like that. But I do that. I'm like, oh, it's a different kind of salt. So I'll do that on salmon, and that's
you brine with kosher salt.
Oh, my usual brine, yeah, kosher salt for years. But before I ever tried pink Himalayan salt, I was just like, oh, because I didn't know what it was for. I'm like, why would you need it?
Yeah.
Other than say, I'm making this dish and there was the pink Himalayan salt.
And then a lovely lady came out with that cookbook, Salt, Heat, Fat, Acid. She also made a 4-part documentary about each one of those and talked a lot about how acid changes the flavor and taste of food. Heat obviously changes the taste and flavor of food. And salt is a big... And she kept saying, you have to salt the water that you're boiling the pasta in so it tastes like the ocean.
Oh, yeah, I'm all about it.
I never put that much salt. Never did prior put that much salt in. But it does make a big difference. It does make the pasta carry its own flavor, so you don't have to salt the added, whatever you're putting on top of your pasta.
Right.
So anyway, that was a revelation to me because I was saltless for so many years because salt was bad. See, salt itself isn't bad; it's the sodium.
And I was just taught from the time I learned how to cook, just make sure whenever you're boiling water specifically for pasta, put plenty of salt in. Because I'm like, because what else would I use table salt for? Stuff that sort of thing. So I've just naturally done it, but I didn't know why. Well, I just listened to wisdom.
Yeah, I didn't put salt on my food for 20 or 30 years, and now I put salt on my food, especially food that I want to enhance the flavor of.
Right, but I think it kind of depends on what flavor, because you see people with breakfast that they will overly salt everything. I've seen people put salt on eggs. I never need to salt eggs, but they'll put salt on grits. They'll put salt on their hash browns. And I guess I'm like, well, it's a potato. I guess you're used to salting it, but why do hash browns need salt?
I don't know.
I don't think they do. Yeah. Just like they don't need ketchup. There went the look.
Sorry. What are hash browns for? Why would you eat hash browns with no topping on it? Do you put sour cream on your hash browns? Cheese. There we go. Hash brown and cheese.
Well, then there's the loaded hash browns. But if you're having it depends on the restaurant. They'll do biscuits and gravy. If it comes with a hash brown, I'll put a little gravy on the hash brown.
That's good.
But I've never thought this could use more salt.
opening a new beer.
So I'm going to go with a different glass.
Yes, that's why I put mini glasses on the bar.
This one or the small one?
Let's do the small one for this, because if we brought a surprise third beer in case we, but we'll pour this out, and then I'll read the can to you folks, and Keith will model the beer.
And I want you to pay attention to her directions, because they're usually pretty specific on smoothie beers. Some of them you have to like turn and rotate. You do. It says rotate it before they'll just randomly pour.
So, as stated earlier, this is a Claim 52. This is Raspberry Gingerbread Cheesecake Dessert Sour. Drink fresh. This is not, unlike aged beers, this is not a beer that you age. No, because as I said earlier, re-fermentation can occur. And there was a beer that had to be recalled a couple of years ago because the cans were exploding. So I don't remember what brewery that was.
Somebody probably tried to age them. Like, I'll keep this going. And the little fermentation or whatever kept going. And boom.
Anyway. Oh, this is a collaboration beer between Claim 52 and Horace.
I've never heard of Horace.
I've never heard of Horace, so we'll have to go find out about Horace. Anyway, it is kind of Christmassy. It's got beautiful green and red and white decor. And this is their stuffed line. Claim 52, their beers go fast. And usually once it's gone, it's gone. They also have the breakfast beers, so they always make beers that taste like Fruit Loops or breakfast. So, and then they have a darker beer series that also they do, but either coffee or maple, which I just adore and love. But you can't get them once they're made. They're gone.
What's the ABV on
that? This is 6.5.
Okay.
Okay. So, oh my gosh, you already drank half of yours.
Make me seem like a boozer right on camera.
We're talking about beer. It smells so good. Oh, I love this beer.
So full disclosure, I like ginger. I like ginger ale. I like ginger beer. I'll drink hot ginger tea. I don't like gingerbread. This is delicious when I smell it. Yeah, it smells like something baked.
Yeah.
So I taste the other flavor.
Oh no, you're right. It says gingerbread. It's
not gingerbread, but like it smells like something baked. Mm-hmm. But like the taste, I like the taste.
Gingerbread. What's the difference? That's interesting.
Maybe because it's cooked. Yeah, like I love ginger, but gingerbread, like, not in my top 10 of cookies.
That's sad. I feel bad for you. Now, there's many ways to make gingerbread. Mm-hmm. Gingerbread cookies, gingerbread, but then there's the gingerbread houses, and that's so heavy and hard, it's not edible. It's not supposed to be edible, as far as I'm concerned. It's there to build a house, not to eat.
Well, now that you say that,
nice moist gingerbread.
I don't think I've had it.
Gosh, it's so good.
I don't think I've had gingerbread.
Yeah, because if you ate a gingerbread house,
I wouldn't, because it's art. You don't eat art.
Well, you're supposed to, because it's made out of edible stuff. But come on, British baking show. It has to be beautiful, but you also have to be able to eat it.
That's true. Some of the things they make on there, I think they're almost too beautiful to eat. But
then they slice right into them.
Mm-hmm.
Right? This beer, this is a deadly beer.
See, they say it's for dessert, but I'd have this for breakfast and I wouldn't feel guilty about it.
This is not. I can't sip this beer. I just chug it. It's so good.
It's so good.
I can't sit and sip it like I do most beers. I want to drink it. Yeah. So
there's a double-edged sword. Have to throw this out there because someone's like, ooh, I want to try that. I'm going to go to Claim 52, which you should go there if you're local. You should order it. If you order like Tavor, those places, like, oh, I heard of Claim 52. Do it. Mm-hmm. But here's the thing. It's kind of like bittersweet on this, and that they're great at what they do, come out with flavors like this, but they're constantly innovating.
Yeah,
so
which
if
is
you
why
say like, I
gone.
watched this in December or January, but like in March I tried to find it, and like, how come they don't do it anymore? Your window has passed, and so now you have to look at what they're doing now. So that's the downside, which is great because people are just like, oh, like what's new? I'm going to have that, and it's good and stuff like that. But you can't wait forever on them.
Mm-mm. No,
but they've never disappointed me.
There have been a few of their flavors that I didn't care for, but that's just wait till the next one.
Right.
Yeah.
Just wait.
They use the same sour base, but they're throwing in all kinds of wild, crazy fruits and
for those of you who've said like, "Oh, I don't like sours," because they're too sour. This actually had sour on the label.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it's not that sour.
No,
it's
not.
Mostly flavor.
Yeah. There's a hint of sour at the end, but there's so much fruitiness. And oh my gosh, I mean, do you see how thick this is? You cannot see through this. It literally is a beer shake. So.
And some of their cans will actually have thick on it. Like the THICC.
Yeah, this is stuffed. So they have a couple of lines. They have the stuffed line and they have the thick line. This is in the stuffed line. The thick, I cannot tell you what the difference is between the two lines, but they always have a stuffed beer. They always have a thick beer.
Is one
and
thicker?
It's THICC. You would think, but I don't know what the difference. I think the bases are different. One's a sour base and one's a. So obviously, if the stuffed is the sour base and the thick is
but they
the
have
darker base,
so much sweeter. Maybe it's that good balance between sweet and sour. But I mean, it doesn't. I don't get sour from this.
No, very little.
The flavors.
Oh my gosh. So good.
You can keep on smelling.
It's so good. I know, right? See? Notice I just keep constantly.
Oh. I mean, I would do it for a dessert beer too, I suppose. Like when you have a good meal and somebody's like, oh, and somebody offers you dessert, like, oh no, I couldn't. Like that. But you still want something sweet to offset it. This would be a good choice.
Would you drink this? Always, constantly. Bring it on. Usually the last course in Europe is cheese and fruit.
Okay.
Which in America, technically, it's dessert. So would you drink this with cheese and fruit? I don't think so.
That doesn't seem to really go.
No. Even though it's a fruit beer and it's a dessert beer, it doesn't go with that. I would actually drink this with a slice of gingerbread.
And I would drink it with a slice of cheesecake.
Cheesecake. Well, cheesecake is on the label.
Because some people frown when I order or pour milk.
Yeah, you are weird.
What? There's not an age limit on milk?
Well, you don't need it, number one. It is kind of weird. And, yeah, I'm just going to call you weird on that one.
Don't need it, but it's good.
Don't need it, but it's good. Yeah, okay. I personally don't drink it. But. You know how the food is good when the conversation stops?
Right, it's quiet.
We're both drinking. We just need to drink. Sorry, we're not talking about this anymore because it's too good. It's way too good. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I am on Claim 52's email list.
Are you?
Yes, of course. How do you think I knew about this?
You might as well be a member.
I had to dash down. I don't know if they do a membership club, but I'm on their email list, and they said, "Hey, new beers," and that one, the Raspberry Gingerbread, just sounded so good.
So. I don't know if you heard the unfortunate news. Since you're on the email, as you probably heard. So, here in Eugene, no, that's Falling Sky.
Falling Sky.
We were talking about Falling Sky. That's true. Yeah. Falling Sky, their delicatessen closed down, which is fine. You still get Falling Sky everywhere. But the reason why that popped in my head is because it's kitty corner to one of like the best places to get fresh seafood. So a lot of times I would go there to either get like a growler fill there. I'm like, I might as well get fresh seafood, or go to seafood going like, I can stop by and have a beer. So that was sad news.
Yeah, it's very sad. But we are in a time where I think the independent breweries they're struggling.
They're struggling, yeah.
They are struggling, and I don't think beer is the only food related area that's having issues. We all know some of our favorite restaurants have closed in the past years, and they're never coming back. But the consolidation, I'm glad they can do it.
Right.
I'm glad they can. They had 2 locations. Now they're down to 1, and it just, sometimes that's just the way they can keep providing and focusing on what is most important. So, and as we've all, well, not all, I'm just making the assumption that we all know, making and serving beer is one thing. Making and serving food is something completely different.
Right.
And to combine the two, which I love, I do not like to drink beer and not eat. I want to go to a brew pub. I don't want to go to just a brewery. So the fact that I'm not eating is because of you, the viewer, not because I don't like to eat when I drink. I love to eat because that's part of the pairing and the fun of it. But managing a kitchen and pouring beer are 2 very, very different things. And
so that's why, I applaud the people that can do it. But here where craft beer is king, even people that says like, beer is just our thing, we don't want to mess with it. They're at least innovative enough to go like, hey, wherever you're at, people are going to stay here and drink more if they have food options. So they'll say like, hey, we'll just hire out like food trucks. And so even before, pods are a regular thing now, but before that, they would let everybody know like, hey, we're going to have a Thai this day. We're going to have like tacos this day. We're going to have burgers and brats this day. So they were smart enough to realize like, if you want people to stay and drink, make sure that they can eat. So bravo to their innovation.
Okay, right, so the surprise beer, the third of our...
I'm going to smell it first.
It does not smell like kiwi strawberry.
No.
Okay, this is a fruit fusion sour kiwi strawberry session beer by Oakshire Brewing, which is yet another local brewery.
They're great.
And this is our lightest one, 4.5%. And I'm trying to see if it has anything written on the can. It's a beautiful, beautiful can. It's gorgeous. And that's why I'm sorry. Every once in a while, I do judge a book by its cover. And I also judge a beer by its can. And this was a pretty can. I have never seen this before today. And I just happened to see it, so I bought it. And it's a very clear. So, session beer, very light. We already clinked, but we'll clink again.
Now that's more like a sour.
Yeah, it has.
I'm not getting a whole lot of kiwi strawberry.
Nope, I'm not either. But if you told me that this was a light, refreshing summer beer, I'd be fine with it. Yeah.
This is a beer that I think you could trick people into. Not that you want to trick people, but you know how people can be picky. Like, I like beer. The first beer I had was like a room temperature Heineken. Well, of course you don't like that. No, but like who likes cider? And then you could give them this, and they'll be like, "Oh, that's a cider with like oomph," and you're like, "Yeah, you really like it. You like it, but you don't like beer, right? You just drink a beer."
Do not
Why
yell.
you make this a house of lies? You said you don't like beer. You just drank one and said you liked it.
Do not yell at the people that you are trying to get to like beer, please. I beg of you. The goal is to get more people to drink beer, not terrorize them, Keith.
Give them a taste. Make sure they come back for more. No, but not that I advocate tricking people. However, there's some people who are a little too snobby, like, I don't like beer. I just like wine or cider. You give them this, and they'll be like, "Oh, that's kind of a bold cider, right?"
Yeah, it's very fizzy, which is nice,
and it's not too sweet. So
no, definitely not too sweet.
So those people who like, what do you call them? Like the dry ciders. I don't know. I think they'd like that.
Yeah, this is, but it's not too fruity either, even though it says strawberry kiwi. It's not too fruity.
No, if you just looked at and believe what you read, you're like, ooh, strawberry kiwi. This could be kind of like just a slightly tart.
Yeah.
But mostly sweet dessert. But it's not. It's kind of like a sour.
Yeah, it's very it's drinkable. I think it's very broad. A lot of people would like to drink this beer. They would be happy to drink this beer because it's not so narrowly defined and it doesn't have coffee in it.
That's right.
I know we are going to have somebody on who loves coffee flavored beers because you and I don't.
Well, there's plenty of people who like coffee.
That's true. And then we're going to have my sister on. She's an IPA fan. Well, not a fanatic. She has broadened her palate over the last few years, but IPAs she's a big IPA fan.
Yeah, IPA all the time. It's fine, though.
It is. Did you ever watch that show, Three Sheets?
I have not seen Three Sheets.
Oh, my gosh.
What is it on? Is it streaming?
Now it probably is because it hasn't been on in years. It was on the Travel Channel for a while. And he traveled around the world and would partake in the drinking customs.
Oh.
So, hence the term Three Sheets, right? Because
Three Sheets to
usually
the wind.
The next day it was a hangover remedy. Like, what was the most famous local hangover remedy?
Because I saw The Boozy Traveler, so this sounds like the same thing.
Yes. Yeah. I don't know if I ever watched the movie Boozy Traveler, but I've heard of that. Anyway, his name was Zane Lamprey. And I have no idea why I was telling you about Three Sheets. I don't know why.
Because he was going around.
He was going
drinking
around, but
to
why did this beer remind me of Zane Lamprey? And this is what happens when you drink three beers.
The Scottish Highlands.
No.
At dusk.
No. Anyway, oh well. Oh my gosh. So now I have completely forgotten about Three Sheets and Zane Lamprey. And I still haven't remembered the wizard's name or the guy who wrote the books.
Oh, God.
That mouse is named after. So, oh well.
You might get a little crap for that.
I know.
Because all the book people just like, well, I need to know how to get that book or read that book or do books on tape. Audiobooks? Yeah, audiobooks. I still read. I'm old school.
Dresden. This is a Dresden series.
There you go.
Yes.
They can look that up.
Yeah. So the wizard's last name is Dresden.
I've heard of that, but I've never read it.
They're pretty fun. He incorporates elves and fairies and werewolves and
but via Chicago.
Yes. So the underworld. The underworld is literally the underworld in Chicago.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a pretty good series. Pretty good. I've read every book in the series, so obviously I like it.
How long is the series, do you know?
I think it's up to 14 or 15 books.
Because my knock on books is that, or I should say series, is that when somebody's getting done with the series, which I'm not close, you ask people like, hey, I need to know what I'm going to read next. And somebody's like, oh, this is a great series, it's great author and stuff like that. You're like, okay, I'm going to get it. And I don't know about you, but the better the story is, the faster I read. And so I'll go through 2 or 3 books, and I'm just like, okay, when's the sequel coming out? Oh, the sequel's not coming out till 2026.
Right.
And I'm just like, what the shit? Got me all excited. I'm like, it's not even finished. So when I tell people, it's like, oh, you're going to love this series, the first question I ask is like,
is it done?
Is it done?
Yes.
Is it finished?
I agree. Because Robert Jordan, Wheel of Time, I mean, the man died before the series got completed. So I
never told you that
never
story.
Read. And then
I knew it was going to happen. I knew he was going to die. I know it sounds morbid, but yes, when somebody builds it like, hey, this is the modern day Lord of the Rings, and people are like, wait a minute, back up. You're going to drop down that gauntlet. This is the modern day Lord of the Rings, and people are like, I don't even read science fiction or fantasy. I'm going to read it. And they start reading like, I am hooked. Like the first 5 were like all bestsellers. And then that, for those of you who are not familiar with Robert Jordan, like acclaimed author and stuff like that, had in the series of Wheel of Time, and people start reading it and going like, I'm hooked. You love it? Yeah, I love it. Let's love it together. That sort of thing. And would read it, and I like the next one, like, oh, this one was a little filler. So like, oh, but it's back on this, and like you could do side stories and you could do prequels and stuff like, but let's stay in the story like that. And then it comes out like oh, Robert Jordan, who's this? I think he was like from South Carolina, and he's an adventure guy, likes to go out like hunt and fish, outdoorsy guy and stuff like that. That's how you get ticks. All of a sudden comes up with this just mystery illness that only like 20,000 people on the planet have ever got, and it's terminal. And I'm like, I knew it. You're not going to get a chance to finish it. And most people say like, oh, Keith, don't you have a little compassion? And I'm like, no, you need to finish. You need to finish it before your death. And he didn't. And so he died, like I called it, gonna die. And so everybody's just like, oh, we feel so bad for him because like, he wasn't that old, and we feel so sorry for his
of course,
for his first widow. Mm-hmm. But secretly we're going like, yeah, like 3 more books, you could have done it. But anyway, so his widow took her time grieving and then came out to the fans and said, like, this was my husband's work. He loved all you fans. And, as you know, most authors, you don't just like write a book and, everything's done and then you start a new book. There's kind of like what they call like a manuscript.
Well, yeah.
Or yeah. So
well,
like,
the manuscript is what you send to the publisher,
right? Like
but he probably had outlines and
notes, right, and stuff like that. So you had so he was already working on.
Oh, there's Mouse.
There she goes. There's Mouse.
Hi, Mouse.
Right on time.
Hi, sweet girl.
The camera loves Mouse.
Yeah.
So anyway, so it came out with the 12th book wasn't released. He died after the 11th. And she said, like, he had, like, his notes, manuscript, whatever, for the 12th. But she goes, to do his legacy credit, she goes, I'm going to take some time. I'm going to pick an author and make sure they can finish up because you, the fans, deserve to have, like, adequate, she didn't use the word adequate, but, like, an ending to this because you've joined a journey like that. And so everybody's, like, getting on the website blogs. I wasn't because I'm not that much of a nerd. But they're like, oh,
hello, you know more about this than anybody.
I know. As he delves into the story.
Oh my God, the nerd.
They're right.
Calling himself not a nerd.
So anyway, so she picked Sanderson. And I can't remember his first name. Brian Sanderson, something like that. Something basic. But Sanderson. And everybody's like, okay, he's written some stuff. He's been published. This wasn't some rant. And like, he was a fan. And so everybody's like, yes, but we've gone all through these 11 books. What if we start to notice the difference in the writing? And then so what she said, I should say they said, because like now they're communicating as a group, said like the 12th book will be mostly his notes put together and a little bit by Sanderson. The 13th book was going to be very little notes and mostly Sanderson. And the 14th, which will be End, it's called like the last battle. That's going to be all Sanderson. And so like the other nerds, I'm reading and going like, oh, just make sure it's good. Just make sure the story's good. And I'm reading it, and I'm like, I love it. I'm still loving it. I'm still into it. Stuff like that. So it's good. Then the 12th book, did I say 12 or 13 or 14? I think it's like, yeah, 12th book. I'm like, it's good. I'm like, I can't tell where Jordan left off and Sanders, but like you're into it. You're into the story. And then you realize on the final book, I'm like, the last battle, I'm like, oh my God, the entire book, and these are like thick books, it's all going to be about like the war, the last battle for like humanity and creation and that sort of thing. And then you read it, and you're like, okay, finally, the coup de grace, they did it justice, it's good, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, now you can call it the modern day Lord of the Rings and stuff like that. But you're always going to get the haters that can go like, I don't know, I just... But it finished, and bravo to the widow, to Sanderson, that is a completed series. So somebody asked me, they're like, oh, this is a great series. Like, no, I'm only going to tell you series that have a beginning, a middle, and end, and they're done, and you don't have to wait for anything. And the Wheel of Time is it. And that was probably a little bit more nerdier than they wanted, but you got me off on a tangent.
Okay, so I bought the Wheel of Time, or was what was the name of the first book? It was a blue cover. It was the woman riding the horse on the cover, and I bought that book when it came out in paperback. So that's when I started the series way back in the 80s.
Right.
I think I read through book 7 or 8 and then stopped.
And then stopped.
Same thing. I'm not. And sadly, I tried to start up. I went back to the beginning and said, okay, now it's done. He's dead. Sadly, I will finish. No, I couldn't make it through the first chapter. It was, this book is terrible. So
You didn't like the writing?
No, I didn't like the writing anymore. Anyway, maybe someday I'll pick it back up again. I know, I'm really sorry. And guess what? 1,000 years ago, Brent, that's my husband, handed me George R. Martin's first book.
And said, Song by Some Fire, yeah.
This is amazing.
Right.
And I read it and I said, yeah, you're right. It's amazing. Let me know when the series is ended and finished and done. And he as of today,
he will never finish.
2023.
I'm going to call it because he still currently is alive. George R. Martin is going to die. He's going to be deceased, and that series will never be finished. And what's sad is the TV series. Which you still have haters for, like just the last season, which kills me.
I'm sorry, the way they ended it was it went out with a whimper. It was terrible.
I don't know. I think
it was terrible.
I think people
they really
loved it, and the reason why they were most upset with the final season was because it was a shortened season. Like it was literally 8 episodes. They're like, oh, you guys just kind of cashed it in, and I would have done it differently. None of those people said they would have done it. They've never written anything in their life. They're not authors.
That is absolutely
They're not authors.
But still, I think they could have put a little more oomph into the last 2 episodes, and they were this short of the mark.
When it finished, though, everybody's like, the series is finished because they knew George R. Martin wasn't going to do it. I went back because there's always going to be critics like they should have done that. And then there was this one episode where it was like too dark, and it was too dark. You can't tell anything. It's literally
that was terrible.
I'm sitting there up there adjusting my TV like this, like with a hand, which nobody ever does.
Terrible.
And I'm just like. Maybe it's the episode. I can't see a damn thing. And then the next day on the internet, people are like, was it me or is that like everything in the dark? Anyway, so my point is, you're always going to have haters, critics, who've never written anything or created a show. Well, I would have done it differently. All right, let's compare it to your show. Well, right. Sit there and spectate. That's all you're good for. So, I finished it, and then everybody okay, we've digested it. We finally finished the series. And then there's people who read the books and watched the show. There's people who never read the books, who watched the show, loved it. And then after the show, went back and read the books and go damn it, he's not going to finish. I'm like, yep, warned you. But then I said, I took a couple months, and I said, I'm going to rewatch it now that you can from start to finish. Mm-hmm. And I watched it again, and I'm like, oh, how's it? It's still just binge-worthy. I cannot wait for the next section.
It's so good, and which is why it's very sad that it ended with a whimper and not a bang. In my personal opinion. Oh my gosh!
Name a series that you thought ended correctly. Like it was a good series, and they ended triumphantly.
Well, sadly, a lot of series ended because they were canceled. So you can't include any of those because they didn't get a chance to end it properly.
Right. Dissatisfied. So now name a show that ended
I think Parks and Rec ended well.
Yeah.
And The Good Place?
Oh, I never got into The Good Place. And I like Ted Danson, but it's just
I like Kristen too. So.
I'm going to go.
Alrighty. My beer glass is empty.
Fringe. Start to finish. Great series.
Fringe. That sounds familiar, but I don't remember.
Yeah. So it's like a more recent version of what's the one with Mulder and Scully? The one of those sci-fi.
Yes.
We're horrible. We can't remember.
I know.
That.
Seriously.
But anyway.
And we're not looking at our phone because we're using my phone to record.
Right.
So we can't. But yes.
I look at my phone, but that'd just be rude to you. Which I'm not going to do that.
Which is why we probably have to
going to yell at the camera
at the beginning of every episode.
But Fringe, from start to finish, great. Mm-hmm. Fallen Skies, which was cheesily done by like TNT, but it's one of those ones like, oh my god. Actually, there was like the end of the world, like when the aliens attack and how it would go down. But that one we're into like, oh, weird. So that one's good. Mm-hmm. But it's hard for people to pick a series. They say from the start it was good, and the middle it was good, the end satisfied.
Oh, Ugly Betty. I think Ugly Betty ended real well as well.
How many? I think
episodes? It was 4 or 5 seasons.
Really? Okay.
But they knew. See, if they know, and they write to that knowledge, then if it's a series or a show that they don't know that it's when it's gonna end, and I think that's what people want more nowadays is, can we have something that ends properly?
And here's the thing, they can't guarantee that. Like, there's people that still complain about, like, we're the biggies, like Breaking Bad. Mm-hmm. People were upset about that. Sopranos, people still pissed. All these years, still pissed about Sopranos. Like what the hell? Fade away? What the hell? And then Lost. There's people that will break furniture if you bring up Lost.
I know.
That's why I never started Lost. People are like, don't do it. Don't do it.
I never finished Lost. I dropped off on the 3rd or 4th season. This is insane and too stupid, and I'm so sorry I can't buy into it anymore. Yeah.
If you're a kind person, you will warn people before they start. People are like, oh, what series? I'm like, here's a 7. I think it was like 7 years, 7 seasons of like the 100. And the 100 starts great. It's great. For the first 4 seasons, you're like, oh my god, there's so many layers and unwrap, and then there's this, and they're like, huh, okay, alternate universe, huh, okay, now they're they're frozen, and then end up on a different universe, okay, and they're like, okay, the writers have now given up. I can actually see it. They've given up. Now you're just trying to end it, and it's pathetic. So I tell people like, well, wait a minute, it has all this acclaim. I'm like, yeah, it does have an acclaim for like the first 4 to 5 seasons. And then people will like, yeah, let's just don't talk about it.
Yeah, leave it alone.
Yeah. So alrighty. It's hard for people to say like this one start to finish, but we provided that.
Okay.
You're welcome.
And we will never ever review TV shows ever again. But as we've stated in the beginning, you cannot take anything we say as fact. So that's probably a lie because we probably will talk TV shows again.
Well, it's polarizing. We should talk about food. Polarizing. Who doesn't like food?
It's polarizing as well.
Yeah, people are like, the only thing we find polarizing is your hatred of tomatoes and coffee.
So, to recap, Monkless Peppercorn Imperial Wit. Like it. Very good. Thank you for introducing me to it. Claim 52 Stuffed Raspberry Gingerbread Cheesecake Dessert Sour. Love it.
More like dessert.
I will always drink Claim 52 beers. Sunmay, Oakshire, Frusion Sour, Strawberry Kiwi. Couldn't really taste the strawberry or the kiwi, but an okay beer. So, yeah. I
love Oakshire.
Yes.
This beer was made to trick people.
Alrighty. Well, I think that is the end of our second episode, which hopefully we will be posting very quickly after the first. Still learning this whole thing and how to publish and the whole bit. So, yeah. Thanks for sticking with us.
Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year as well. Yes. I'm Lisa.
I'm Keith.
Thank you again for watching Friends Who Drink Beer. Friends
Cheers.
Drinking Beer.
Friends Drinking Beer.
Friends Drinking Beer. I don't even know the title
of
our
show. We've been drinking.
That is
Full
true.
Disclosure.
Alrighty. Thanks again. Bye.